Well, it's that time of year again. It is after Christmas, after the new year, and most high school students and even some students that have graduated even last year are looking at their college prospects and going, is a bachelor's degree in cybersecurity still worth it? Is there still strong demand, or can I get away with just doing certifications? Well, today we're going to talk about why it might be worth it to grab that bachelor's in cybersecurity as well. As always, my name is Dr. K, and you know I'm biased. I have to be. I teach for a university. And because of that, of course, there is a little bit of bias in there as we go through. So let's talk about this real quick, right? Cybersecurity, one of the fastest growing fields in the United States and worldwide. High demand for skilled professionals. And you often see on LinkedIn, on other places, a lot of naysayers saying, well, you don't really need a degree. You really don't need this. You don't need that. Just go get a certification. And I'm gonna squash that right off the bat. Okay, because I think it's important to understand that if you've ever watched any of my videos, yes, I constantly say go get a certification. You need it. It's really gonna stop that door from opening if you're trying to get into the field. But more important than that is the experience and the knowledge. A certification is not going to get you a lot of knowledge. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is, right? Most people with a bachelor's degree, with a little bit of study, can go past their cybersecurity or their Security Plus exam literally right off the bat. Matter of fact, in most courses that I teach, I actually say, well, if we're going through this course, you should be going for Network Plus. If you're going for this course, you should be going for Security Plus. If you're doing this course, then this is perfect opportunity to go get CEH or Pentest Plus or even OSCP, right? And there's a reason for that. There's a reason that bachelor's degree courses are maybe not readily aligned to these certifications, but aligned enough to where you as a student, if you're going through this program, can often jump in and get that certification while you're going through it. A lot of students ignore me. They don't do that. And then they get done with their degree and they're like, oh, I should have gotten a certificate. And I'm like, well, Dr. K told you to do it, but you didn't. All right, so enough of that. Is a bachelor's degree worth it? What does it offer me that a certification doesn't? A lot of people seem to think that by going to get Security Plus, you're ready for a cybersecurity job. And I think we've drastically removed that myth multiple times through the different videos that I've done. So why? Well, a bachelor's degree, if the university is doing what they're supposed to be doing, they're teaching you more than what a certification will ever teach you. They're giving you hands-on information, hands-on exercises. You're learning programming, you're learning scripting, you're learning operating systems, not just Windows, right? You're actually learning Linux, and you're going through those different processes. You're learning the ethics, the legals behind it, and you're learning all this stuff that no certification could ever match because you're diving into it at a level that far exceeds a certification, which is usually where most students come to me and they say, well, wait a second, if I'm learning all this stuff, why do I need to go get the certification? And it's strictly because not all colleges are created equally. You want to look for, and I think this is important, you need to look at their accreditation, right? And I'm not talking about national versus regional accreditation. You should, by the way, 100% never go to a national accredited university. It's a waste of your time, it's a waste of your money. And the reason I say that is because the government, DOD, a lot of other organizations and agencies don't recognize national accreditation as being a true accreditation. So make sure you're going through a regionally accredited university. All of your public universities are going to be regionally accredited, every last one of them. Okay, it's the private universities you have to worry about. All right. So there's more accreditation after that though. There's something called CAE, Center of Academic Excellence, and part of CAE, which is part of NSA DHS, they come out and they say you have to have all these different perspectives in your program. And there's an entire accreditation process that you have to go through. There's also ABET. And ABET is another great one. So let's talk about the differences. Well, let's first talk about ABET. All right, ABET is a great certification, but it's mostly drawn from engineering. If you're going through ABET, it's more just like CAE. It is a globally recognized accreditation process for that degree, right? And then you have CAE, which is designated into three different subsets. You've got cyber defense. This is usually your IT programs. They don't do a lot of scripting. They don't do a lot of programming. They don't do a lot of offensive cyber. And that's cyber defense. So CAE CD. Then there's cyber operations, right? CAE CO. And that's where those are usually more of your true cybersecurity bachelor's degrees, right? Usually if you're going to IT with an emphasis on cyber, it's going to be CD, right? If you're going into cyber operations, usually more true cybersecurity because you're learning programming, You're going to learn ethical hacking. You're going to learn all these other things associated with it, right? And so those are the two major ones associated with CAE. ABET just has the one for cybersecurity. And then they have CAER, which is research, which most people are not going to do unless they're in a PhD program. There's very few universities with that. And so what I often tell students that are looking at a bachelor's degree is go through and go on DHS website or NSA's website, find Center of Academic Excellence, and decide, do I want to be more on the defensive side or the operations side? Now, what does that mean for your job skills? Well, if you're asking my opinion, you should definitely go cyber operations because it's going to teach you programming languages, and that is a big benefit that's really going to round you up. However, there are some students out there that just hate programming. Like me, for one, I hate programming. I despise it with everything that's in my being. I do not like it, right? And if you are one of those people that just can't stand it, then does it make sense to go after a cyber operations? It may not. You would still land a decent career. Just realize that CAE-CD is more on the IT side of the house. CAE-CO is more on the computer science offensive side of the house. They're both really great. Neither one is going to lead you astray. You'll be fine with both. They're probably a little bit higher job prospects with the CO, the cyber operations, than there are with the CD. But again, I wouldn't discount either one of them. CD, cyber defense, is usually easier to get than CO for colleges and universities. But there's an entire process you have to go through. I did it with both of them for CD and CO with a bachelor's degree on both sides. I will tell you it is a long process. It is 6 months of grueling, intensive mapping of different perspectives that NSA wants you to have on your bachelor's program. They go through. They have a third-party representation. It is not an easy designator or accreditation to get for your program. And that's why I kind of align with that. Now, if you're going in and you're looking at other projects, and there is one, by the way, for associate's degrees as well, right? And associate schools. I'm not very familiar with those. I don't really do the associates or the community college. But they definitely have CAEs associated with those, so make sure that you check out that as well. If you do, it's a big plus to that program, right? But not every program has that. A lot of programs don't bother to go through that accreditation process. And if they don't, there may be a reason for it, right? Just be aware of that. Be aware of that accreditation does matter, and it comes into true. And that's why certifications have really taken off, because it's really easy for DOD or somebody else to come in and say, well, that's great, you have a bachelor's degree in whatever, but do you truly understand cybersecurity? Because not every college is the same. We may teach it differently. Like, for instance, where I teach is going to do differently than another university, which is going to be different than another university, and so on and so forth. Whereas a certification is a point that says all students know this, right? It's that foundation. No matter where you go, you understand this. I'm not a big fan of college grads having to do Security Plus, especially if they have a degree in cyber or IT. I don't think that's really worth it, but I didn't make the rules. It is what it is, and that's why I tell students all the time to go get them. All right, so earning potential, I feel like that's important, right? Whenever I talk about a degree, I want you to think about one thing. It's an investment. You're spending money on yourself, and that's what it is. And so if you're going to look at a bachelor's degree, you should understand from a perspective of money. And a lot of students don't like to hear that. They're like, oh, well, I just want to go in and get my bachelor's degree. Well, why? Why are you spending the money, the time, and the effort? That's an investment. And if you're not going to recoup something from that investment, is it worth getting that investment? And I think that holds true to anything you do in life, right? I know other colleges are going to hate me for this, but I want you to think about this, okay? You have to have a college degree for certain fields of study. I'm not going to name them. I'm not going to pick on them. But you have to have a college degree for these certain fields of study in order to work in that field. And yet they pay $35,000 to $40,000 a year. It costs you more for the degree than it does for the entry-level salary. And I'm sorry, but I don't feel like that's worth it. I don't feel like the investment's there. If your cap on your salary in 20 years is literally $55,000 a year, and you spent $60,000 on your education, is the return on investment there? I would argue it's not. That's just me, because you have to look at it from a cost of living perspective. You have to look at it from how much money do I make. Then you have student loans you have to pay off. Most people don't have a scholarship, right? And so I look at it from that perspective. Okay, that's just me. Now, then you can look at cybersecurity, right? IT and cybersecurity. I'll throw both of them there. Okay, you spend $60,000 on a degree, and I'm just pulling $60,000 out of the hat, right? That's what I'm doing, right? You spend $60,000 on a bachelor's degree. Okay, that's not gonna be the same for everybody. Your entry level salary is $55,000 to $60,000. In 20 years, you should be making easily $120,000 a year. That's double what you paid for your degree. There's a big difference on that, right? There's a definite increase in salary as time goes by because you've got the foundational level, and then you've got through it. And by the way, that $120,000, that's today's salary. So in 20 years, that's probably closer to 200,000. And so there's definitely a return on that investment if you look at cybersecurity and IT or any computer science related degree. And that's my personal opinion on it, okay? But look at it from a return on your investment, right? Right now, latest statistics say that somebody with a bachelor's degree in computer sciences, right, can expect a $2 million lifetime increase in salary. $2 million over your lifetime. That's over 40 years, okay? That equates to about $44,400 more annually than somebody that doesn't have a degree. And so that's a big chunk of change if you think about it, right? Big difference between there. And that grows the higher you go, all right? Bureau of Labor Statistics increase, or suspect, or I shouldn't say suspect, anticipate, right, a 33% job growth in information security analyst. That is the entry-level position or mid-career position for cybersecurity, and they anticipate that over 2033. It was 29% through 2029 last year, and when I pulled that stat for a different video. Now it's 33% through 2033. I don't know why I keep on saying 33, but 2033. With a medium salary of $112,000. That's a medium salary of $112,000. Now, I want to point out a couple things here, okay? When we talk about medium salary, I want you to throw out that out the window, okay? Because if you're watching this video, your medium salary for where you live versus where somebody else's live versus the United States medium salary, completely different. And it's completely skewed. It really is. And I hate when students come out to me and they're like, well, the medium salary for this position is $100,000. Yeah, across the United States, but who's offsetting that statistic? Well, Maryland, California, New York, those big hubs are offsetting that salary because that's where those major things. But if you're in, say, Texas, is your medium salary $112,000? Probably not. Probably not. So be aware of that, okay? Degrees often lead to higher paying jobs. We know this, right? This has been tried and true over the last 40 years and has not changed. If you have a bachelor's degree, you're usually making a higher salary. You usually are, okay? In very few cases are you not making a higher salary than somebody that doesn't have a degree. And I would point out that you're like dipping your little toe in the water with a certification. And there's nothing wrong with that. I often tell people that are transitioning over into cybersecurity, they should start with certification. One, because it's usually cheaper, right, than a bachelor's degree, and you're going to get a sense of whether or not you like it or not, okay? And so if you're a fresh high school student or you're somebody that's looking at a bachelor's degree, I often tell students, make sure that you're getting into a field that you like. And sometimes that means starting out with a certification. But you're getting way more with a bachelor's degree than you're ever going to get with a certification, right? Any certification, doesn't matter if it's CEH, doesn't matter if it's Security Plus, doesn't matter if it's CYSA, you're going to dip your foot. If it's with a good college, a good university, you're going to get far more than you would ever get with a certification. You're going to be able to knock out a lot of different things. You're going to have the basic knowledge. You're going to get more than what any one of those certifications could ever provide you. And that's why you'll hear me often say, like I said at the beginning of this conversation, that if you're going through and you're grabbing a college degree in cybersecurity, there are certain courses that I often point out and say, hey, you should go get the certification while you're doing this. And that's because I do think certifications have their place. Not because I like them having their place, but because that's how our environment is. That's just the world that we live in. I've heard this one before, and I want to dispel one of these rumors, right? I've heard this said by multiple people, and I know we're not talking about master's degrees, but I've heard multiple people on LinkedIn and other places say, oh, a CISP is as good as a master's degree. And I'm gonna laugh at you, and I'm gonna say, no, it's not. It's not nowhere near what a master's degree is. A CISP is just a certification. It took me 2 months to pass my CISP. 2 months. I'm sorry, but I could not pass my master's degree in 2 months. And the knowledge I gained from my master's degree definitely worked towards that CISP. CISP was not hard because of the content. CISP was hard because of the way they phrased their questions. And so for me, I don't feel like CISP is equivalent to a master's degree. I'm sorry if you have got a CISP and you're looking at this, you're going, oh, well, I did a CISP, I'm ready for a master's. I'm going to laugh at you and I'm going to say no. No. A good master's degree is going to far and above what a CISP ever would do. I'm not saying CISP isn't a good certification. It is for what it's meant to be. But I'm sorry, the only people that ever say that a CISP is equivalent to a master's degree is somebody A, who doesn't have a master's degree, or B, doesn't remember what it's like being in a master's degree, or C, they're marketing a CISP program. And I'm sorry, that's just the way I feel. You can disagree with me all you want, but that's my own thoughts on it. Colleges offer networking opportunities and to internship opportunities, something that you're not going to get with a certification, something you're not going to get without it, right? Colleges often offer these meet and greets. They often have career services. They have fairs. They have companies coming in and providing different opportunities to meet with students. And it really comes into play with going, with a certification or with some of that little opportunity, you just don't get that, right? And so colleges go above and beyond to find organizations that they link up to, right? So the university I work at, for instance, and other universities, they do a board and they gather people that are in the industry and they say, hey, come review our program and tell us what we need to do different. Tell us what you need in order for our students to get a job, right? And that is a constant, ongoing process. Anytime some company says, oh, well, we need this, we implement it into the program, right? You'll see movements in programs all the time within the coursework. Certifications, well, they roll it out and look at Security Plus. They do it every 3 years. I'm not saying Security Plus is bad, but it's a 3-year process. With a college or university, I've literally had somebody come up and say, hey, we just got this from industry. I need your next semester to incorporate this. And then I have to go through and I have to take their notes and I have to incorporate it into the program. Now, I've talked a lot about the benefit of a bachelor's degree, but I want to talk a little bit about the drawbacks of course, a bachelor's degree, the cost, right? You've heard me say $60,000. Believe it or not, that's pretty average. You can get into college for far less than that. You really can. And so I would tell you to do your research. And if you're a DOD, if you're working in the public sector, a lot of times you can bring down the cost. I got my degrees with by having AT&T, who I used to work for. They paid for a lot of my degree for me, so I didn't have to. And so I had that tuition assistance with it, right? Also military, that allowed me to have a little bit of tuitions with the GI Bill and everything, right? So there are ways to lower that college cost down to a more reasonable level. It's a skill-driven industry, right? Degrees are considered to be valued because they involve the practical skills, right? That's where degrees come into play. But you have to realize that companies and organizations still look for those certifications. And so you kind of have to do both, unfortunately. Is it possible to get a job without a degree and just certifications? Yeah, absolutely. It's 100% possible. It's possible to get a job in cybersecurity with no degrees and no certifications. Is it going to be easier? No. Are you going to go very high with it? Probably not. When I was way back when, right? And for those that know me, they know that I am a high school dropout. I dropped out of high school as a sophomore in high school, and I didn't get my first bachelor's degree until I was in my 30s, okay? Because I'm transparent with all that stuff. And I did very well for myself. I was making $120,000 a year well before I had my first bachelor's degree, okay? And I did it without a degree at all, right? Through the military and then through other training that I received and then just being in the right industry. So in the 90s, we were looking at maybe 45% of high school students going into college. Nowadays, we're looking at 62% almost, I think is what it is. And so you're going against a lot more competition. The fact is that our economy, our culture, everything that's about us has changed over the years. Most people used to be in business, and now we're seeing that increased look at STEM. It's not like it used to be, right? When I was going through college, we were using Windows 3.1. Honestly, if you knew how to use Windows 3.1, there were no specialized trainings with it. Actually, there were some classes that you could take for Windows, but there wasn't a degree. Nowadays, there's very much degrees. Certifications were not there. And so they've really kind of pinpointed what they want. And to be honest, back when I was going through in the 90s, we didn't even know what cybersecurity was. We didn't even think about it. So understand that, okay? There are alternatives to college, right? There's boot camps. There's hands-on activities online. There's Try Hack Me. There's Hack the Box. There's CyberNow Labs. There's just a plethora of different organizations that will allow you to do hands-on environments. And some of those hands-on environments are honestly going to be better than what you see in a college class. Some of them are not going to be as good as what you see in a college class. And it really depends on the college in which you're going to and what program you're going through. I will point out that I have never seen a resume that said, oh, I passed Try Hack Me's lab and we gave him a job for that. I've never seen it, right? But what I have seen is, oh, I graduated from X university with this GPA and they've gotten a job because of it, right? And so understand that while there all are alternatives, the fact is that a degree is going to far outweigh anything that you could learn by yourself. But the fact is that most successful cybersecurity people that are going into the entry workforce, they do both. And they really need to have that hands-on skill. They need to have that technical nature, right? And I'm just going to be honest with you. You're going to hear me say this all the time. All right. I do want to point out a couple other things. Okay, college is not for everybody. And maybe I'll do a video, I don't know, later down the road. But I want to point out that it took me 5 times to pass my bachelor's degree before I got it. Right, high school dropout, went to multiple colleges multiple times trying to figure out this whole college thing. It wasn't until my 5th attempt in my 30s to where I was finally able to graduate with my bachelor's degree, and then it finally clicked. And that's from there I went and got 2 master's degrees and a PhD. All right, college is not for everybody, and that's okay. But I will say that I have never regretted any of my education. I've had more value from my master's in cyber than I have from my MBA. I will 100% say that. And I have more value from my PhD than I had for either one of my master's degrees. But understand that there is a cost, there is a time associated with it. And you need to understand that return on investment. Regardless of what you do with your life, with your money, understand that return on investment. I've never once thought to myself that my degrees weren't worth it. Ever. If you found any part of this helpful so far, I would really appreciate that like, of course, that subscribe and that bell icon. So if you're looking for a broad foundation, right, and understand the technical perspective, and you want to get understanding of programming, of IT, of cybersecurity, you want to understand servers, you want to understand clients, you want to understand operating systems, malware analysis, and you want this overarching, really strong foundation for cybersecurity, and then a bachelor's degree is 100% worth it. 100%. You can't go wrong with it. If you're looking for a leadership role, well, more often than not, and leadership's where the money is, right? But if you want a leadership role, then you almost have to have a master's degree, or bachelor's degree, excuse me. You have to have a college degree. Now, I said master's, I apologize. You'll get higher with a master's degree than you will with a bachelor's degree, but you don't need a master's to be in cybersecurity leadership. You really don't, okay? And there's the value of networking. If you're looking for a get quick, I don't want to say rich, but get quickly into the field, right? Then a certification will probably, depending on where you live, get you there quicker. But one, are you going to be able to find the job? Because one of the biggest complaints I hear when I talk to students is the fact that, yes, there are jobs out there. We constantly say 3.5 million jobs. The problem is those aren't entry-level positions. They're not. Those positions are mid-level positions that we're short on. We're not short on entry-level people. We're short on mid-level people. And so oftentimes I hear, even from college graduates, even from boot camp employees that I talk to, that they're having a hard time getting into the career field. And that's to be expected. That first job in cybersecurity sucks. That first job anywhere sucks. Anytime you're transitioning into a new career path that requires a little bit of skill, a little bit of knowledge, it sucks. It's not oh, I've got my security plus and I got my bachelor's degree and I got my other and I got all these check boxes. I mean, they're just going to magically open the door. That's not how this works, right? And so understand that. What I really want you to get out of it is, yes, I do firmly believe the bachelor degree is 100% worth it if you're going in for the right reasons. Now, if you're a transitioning adult and maybe you've already got a bachelor's degree, maybe you've already got a degree in, I don't know, business, poli-sci, or something else like that, it's going back to get a bachelor's degree, another bachelor's degree worth it. I would argue it's probably not. I would probably argue that it's not. I would tell you to go for a master's degree at that point. That's my own personal recommendation. I know some people would argue with me. Some people would say you don't even need a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. You just get certifications. I don't know if I would agree with that. And the reason I say that is because cybersecurity is becoming more and more technical as we go through. Now, there are jobs in cybersecurity that you can get with just a bachelor's degree, right? There's GRC, government regulation and compliance. Business people do really well with that. You might be able to get a job very much in that field without getting a master's degree or anything else, with just certifications. And so if that's the type of job you're looking for, 100%, I think that you can do that without having to go back to college, right? If you're transitioning and you've done anything else in your life and you're like, I don't want to go back to college, I don't want to do college, I just want to get my hands dirty, you are in for an uphill battle. I'm not going to lie to you, right? You're going to have to get in with a school or an organization that not only teaches you the certification, but they teach you the equipment like EDR, SIEMs, Proofpoint, email security, all those different things. But you have to have the hands-on experience that you would normally get in a college level, right, with a bachelor's degree that you're not going to be able to utilize because you don't have that college experience. And whatever happens, I want to point this out very clearly. Just because you get a bachelor's degree does not guarantee you're going to get a job. It's not, right? I see this all the time with students. They go through and they're like, well, I got my bachelor's degree and I can't find a job. And then I know these students a lot of time, and I hate to pick on them, right? But when you go to college, Okay, and I was guilty of this for my own bachelor's degree. I really was, right? When I graduated, I think my bachelor's degree at the end of it ended up being like a 3.2 GPA. It was not very high, right? My masters are far higher than that. And to be honest, I failed some classes. I withdrew from some classes, right? I'm still surprised that I got that high of a GPA. And the only reason I think it's that high is because I had transfer credits coming in. And so they didn't count my older GPA onto it. Otherwise, it would have probably been a 2 something, right? Easily. But I see this all the time with college students, okay? And I hear this old phrase, D equals degree. No, D does not equal degree. Well, it does. You could get a D in class and get your degree, but does that mean you're going to get the job? Believe it or not, employers do look at your GPA. And so if I've got 2 brand new people and both of them have a cybersecurity degree, or one has an IT degree and one has a cyber degree, and the IT guy has got, a 3.9 GPA, and the cyber guy has got a, 2.1, who am I going to hire? I'm gonna hire the 3.9, right? I mean, because that's just the way it is. And so I caution you that if you are going to look at college, make sure that you have the time that you can devote for it, because otherwise it may be a big waste of your time, and a big waste of your money, because you're not returning on your investment. That investment needs to be there, right? All right, I think that's it for me for today. If you have any questions, of course, leave them in the comments. As always, I'm Dr. K.